Hello, everyone. My name is Amy Hernandez. I'd like to apologize in advance for my voice. I have been sick this entirety of the week, and I was hoping that by today I would be feeling much better and that this would not be an issue. However, I am going to try my best to get through this. So let's talk about culturally responsive teaching. And honestly, this is one of those things that should be common sense, but sometimes it does take a little reflection to get it right. Culture plays a huge role in how students show up in the classroom. It influences how they communicate, how they respond to authority, and how they learn, even how they show respect. What might seem like disrespect to one teacher could just be how a student was raised to interact in their culture. So the more we understand where our students are coming from, the better we can support them. This is where cultural competence comes in. It's not about being an expert in every culture, because let's face it, that's impossible. It's about being open, aware, and willing to learn from our students. When we do that, we build relationships that create classrooms where kids feel seen and respected. For example, I teach in New Mexico, and many of my students come from Native American or Hispanic backgrounds. There are cultural and spiritual beliefs that we have to be aware and respectful of, especially around things like holidays or animals. In our class, we avoid displaying snakes or even photos of snakes because some of our Native students, just seeing one, can go against their traditions. We also don't make a huge deal about Thanksgiving because it can mean very different things to different communities. It's little things like that, being aware and making space, that go a long way towards showing students that we care. Excuse me. One of the easiest ways to integrate cultural values is just by asking questions and giving students a space to share. Let students bring parts of their background into the classroom, whether that's through stories, projects, or even music and food. It makes learning more personal and way more engaging. For example, I had a party in my class, and one of my students wanted to bring in horchata and tacos for the party because that's how he felt you celebrate. Culture also affects how students learn. Some kids are used to group learning and others are more independent. Some might come from homes where oral storytelling is huge, and while others rely more on textbooks. So it helps to mix up the teaching strategies, not just for ELs, but for everyone. And speaking of ELs, let's not forget that their home language is a superpower, not a problem. I always say, if you're fluent in one language, you've got more tools in your brain than most of us. We can let students use their first language to brainstorm things, talk things out, or connect with content. It's a huge asset, not a crutch. Creating a classroom where students feel safe and welcome and proud of who they are, that's how we support learning at every level. And honestly, when kids know their identity is respected, they're way more likely to participate, take risks, and grow. All right. So now that let's talk about English learners in the classroom, not just academically, but socially and emotionally too, because all of that is connected. One of the biggest things that I've learned is that every EL student is different. Some come in with strong literacy in their first language, and others might just be starting school for the first time. Some may even have learning differences or special needs that require extra support. The key is really getting to know your students and not just their language level, but their personality, their strengths, and their background. And honestly, as an EL learner myself, I really understand how difficult it is to be learning English, especially in a classroom where you're trying to keep up and not fall behind. A lot of people don't realize just how tough English is compared to other languages. The rules don't always make sense, and there are so many exceptions. It can be frustrating and even discouraging sometimes. That's why I find it so important to be supportive and as patient as possible. With the right strategies and encouragement, students can get through those tough moments and find success. And sometimes all it takes is someone to believe in you. As teachers, we can use scaffolding strategies that help all learners, things like visuals, sentence frames, graphic organizers, gestures, and real life examples. Honestly, they help everyone, not just ELs. I also like using peer support and mixed language groups where students can help each other process information. Now, on the emotional side, a lot of ELs are carrying big things. They have just moved from another country, they might be missing family, navigating a new culture, or dealing with trauma. So, creating routines that are predictable and safe makes a big difference. In my classroom, I try to keep the vibe low stress and positive. I celebrate effort and not just perfection. I want students to feel like it's okay to make mistakes because that's how we all learn, especially with language. Also, we can't forget how identity plays into this. When students feel seen and valued for who they are, including their language, traditions, and learning styles, they're more likely to show up, speak up, and succeed. And that's why it's important to build a classroom culture that's not just welcoming, but validating. Excuse me, I'm sorry. At the end of the day, supporting ELs isn't about having all the answers. It's about being flexible, listening closely, and doing our best to make sure every student feels like they belong. Now let's talk about home and school connections, which are absolutely essential when working with ELs. Our students don't just show up as learners. They bring with them a rich background of family values, home language, and community experiences. These funds of knowledge, a term coined by researchers Louis Moll and Norma Gonzalez, remind us that families are full of skills, knowledge, and experiences that can enhance classroom learning if we take the time to connect with them. One way I try to honor that is by finding ways to invite families into the learning process, not just through parent-teacher conferences, but through things like family culture nights, storytelling activities, or community mapping projects where students can share about their homes, languages, and traditions. These activities help students feel proud of who they are and also help their peers learn from different perspectives. Another strategy is providing communication in family home languages whenever possible. That might mean using bilingual newsletters, translated text messages, or interpreter services. Even small efforts to communicate in a family's native language can go a long way in building trust. We also have to remember that traditional forms of parent involvement may look different across cultures. Just because a family isn't volunteering in the classroom doesn't mean they're not deeply involved in their child's education. So we need to widen our view of what involvement looks like and offer different ways for families to engage. Whether that's at home or during community events or through culturally relevant projects. And let's not underestimate the power of a community partnership. Bringing in cultural leaders, bilingual mentors, or parent liaisons who reflect the student population helps bridge gaps and create a more inclusive, affirming environment. At the end of the day, when families feel welcome and respected, they're more likely to partner with us. And when school and home work together, our students thrive. It's about building bridges, not barriers. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope that this information will help you with culturally responsive teaching.